Satan.
Satan is a term, later a character appearing in the texts of the Abrahamic religions who personifies evil and temptation, and is known as the deceiver that leads humanity astray. The term is often applied to an angel who fell out of favor with God, seducing humanity into the ways of sin, and who now rules over the fallen world. Satan is primarily understood as an accuser, or adversary in the Hebrew Bible, and is not necessarily the personification of evil that he would become in later Abrahamic religions. In the New Testament, Satan is a name that refers to a decidedly malevolent entity, devil, who possesses demonic godlike qualities. In theistic Satanism, Satan is considered a positive force and deity who is either worshipped or revered. In LaVeyan Satanism, Satan is regarded as holding virtuous characteristics.
Judaism. Hebrew Bible.
The original Hebrew term, Satan, is a noun from a verb meaning primarily to obstruct, oppose, as it is found in Numbers 22:22, 1 Samuel 29:4, Psalms 109:6. Ha-Satan is traditionally translated as the accuser, or the adversary. The definite article ha, English the, is used to show that this is a title bestowed on a being, versus the name of a being. Thus this being would be referred to as the Satan.
13 occurrences.
Ha-Satan with the definite article occurs 13 times in the Masoretic text, in 2 books of the Hebrew Bible. Job ch 1-2, 10x, Zechariah 3:1-2, 3x. Satan without the definite article is used in 10 instances, of which 2 are translated diabolos in the Septuagint and Satan in the King James Version. 1 Chronicles 21:1, Satan stood up against Israel, KJV, or, and there standeth up an adversary against Israel, Young's literal translation, Psalm 109:6b, and let Satan stand at his right hand, KJV, or let an accuser stand at his right hand. ESV, etc. The other 8 instances of Satan without the definite article are traditionally translated, in Greek, Latin and English, as an adversary, etc., and taken to be humans or obedient angels. Numbers 22:22, 32, and the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. 32 Behold, I went out to withstand thee. 1 Samuel 29:4 The Philistines say, lest he be an adversary against us. 2 Samuel 19:22 David says, should this day be adversaries, plural, unto me? 1 Kings 5:4 Solomon writes to Hiram, there is neither adversary nor evil occurrent. 1 Kings 11:14, and the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. 1 Kings 11:23, and God stirred him up an adversary, Rezon the son of Leadah. 25, and he was an adversary to Israel all the days of Solomon.
Book of Job.
In the Book of Job, Ha-Satan is a member of the divine council, the sons of God, who are subservient to God. Ha-Satan, in this capacity, is many times translated as the prosecutor, and is charged by God to tempt humans and to report back to God all who go against his decrees. At the beginning of the book, Job is a good person, who feared God and turned away from evil, Job 1:1, and has therefore been rewarded by God. When the divine council meets, God informs Ha-Satan about Job's blameless, morally upright character. Between Job 1:9-10 and 2:4-5, Ha-Satan merely points out that God has given Job everything that a man could want, so of course Job would be loyal to God. If all Job has been given, even his health, were to be taken away from him, however, his faith would collapse. God therefore grants Ha-Satan the chance to test Job. Due to this, it has been interpreted that Ha-Satan is under God's control and cannot act without God's permission. This is further shown in the epilogue of Job in which God is speaking to Job and Ha-Satan is absent from these dialogues. For Job, for friends, and for the narrator, it is ultimately Yahweh himself who is responsible for Job's suffering. As Yahweh says to the Satan, you have incited me against him, to destroy him for no reason. Job 2:3.
Second Temple period. Septuagint.
In the Septuagint, the Hebrew Satan in Job and Zechariah is translated by the Greek word diabolos, slanderer, the same word in the Greek New Testament from which the English word devil is derived. Where Satan is used of human enemies in the Hebrew Bible, such as Hadad the Edomite and Rezin the Syrian, the word is left untranslated but transliterated in the Greek as Satan, a neologism in Greek. In Zechariah 3 this changes the vision of the conflict over Joshua the high priest in the Septuagint into a conflict between Jesus and the devil, identical with the Greek text of Matthew.
Dead Sea Scrolls and Pseudepigrapha.
In Enochic Judaism, the concept of Satan being an opponent of God and a chief evil figure in among demons, seems to have taken root in Jewish pseudepigrapha during the Second Temple period, particularly in the Apocalypses. The Book of Enoch contains references to Satoriel, thought also to be Sataniel and Satanel, etymology dating back to Babylonian origins. The similar spellings mirror that of his angelic brethren Michael, Raphael, Uriel and Gabriel, previous to the fall from heaven. The Second Book of Enoch, also called the Slavonic Book of Enoch, contains references to a watcher, Grigory, called Satanael. It is a pseudepigraphic text of an uncertain date and unknown authorship. The text describes Satanael as being the prince of the Grigory who was cast out of heaven and an evil spirit who knew the difference between what was righteous and sinful. A similar story is found in the Book of 1 Enoch. However, in that book, the leader of the Grigory is called Samjaza. In the Book of Wisdom, the devil is represented as the being who brought death into the world. Mastema, in the Book of Jubilees, induces God to test Abraham through the sacrifice of Isaac. He is identical to Satan in both name and nature.
Rabbinical Judaism.
In Judaism, Satan is a term used since its earliest biblical contexts, to refer to a human opponent. Occasionally, the term has been used to suggest evil influence opposing human beings as in the Jewish exegesis of the Yetzer Hara, evil inclination Genesis 6:5. Micaiah's lying spirit in 1 Kings 22:22 is sometimes related. Thus, Satan is personified as a character in 3 different places of the Tanakh, serving as an accuser, Zechariah 3:1-2, a seducer, 1 Chronicles 21:1, or as a heavenly persecutor who is among the sons of God, Job 2:1. In any case, Satan is always subordinate to the power of God, having a role in the divine plan. Satan is rarely mentioned in Tannaitic literature, but is found in Babylonian Agadah. In medieval Judaism, the rabbis rejected these Enochic literary works into the biblical canon, making every attempt to root them out. Traditionalists and philosophers in medieval Judaism adhered to rational theology, rejecting any belief in rebel or fallen angels, and viewing evil as abstract. The Yetzer Hara, evil inclination Genesis 6:5, is a more common motif for evil in rabbinical texts. Rabbinical scholarship on the Book of Job generally follows the Talmud and Maimonides as identifying the adversary in the prologue of Job as a metaphor. In Hasidic Judaism, the Kabbalah presents Satan as an agent of God whose function is to tempt one into sin, then turn around and accuse the sinner on high. The Hasidic Jews of the 18th century associated Satan with Baal-Davar.
Dualism and Zoroastrianism.
Some scholars see contact with religious dualism in Babylon, and early Zoroastrianism in particular, as having influenced Second Temple period Judaism, and consequently early Christianity. Subsequent development of Satan as a deceiver has parallels with the evil spirit in Zoroastrianism, known as the lie, who directs forces of darkness.
Christianity.
In Christianity, terms that are synonymous with Satan include: the most common English synonym for Satan is devil, which descends from Middle English devil, from Old English diaphol, that in turn represents an early Germanic borrowing of Latin diabolus, also the source of diabolical. This in turn was borrowed from Greek diabolos slanderer, from diaboline to slander across, through plus baline to hurl. In the New Testament, Satan occurs more than 30 times in passages alongside diabolos, Greek for the devil, referring to the same person or thing as Satan. Beelzebub, meaning Lord of Flies, is the contemptuous name given in the Hebrew Bible and New Testament to a Philistine god whose original name has been reconstructed as most probably Beelzebul, meaning Baal the prince. Satan is traditionally identified as the serpent who tempted Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Thus, Satan has often been depicted as a serpent. Justin Martyr, who was born around 100 CE, was the first to postulate this association. According to Kelly, Justin makes this association casually, without giving an explanation for his reasoning. In chapters 45 and 79 of Dialogue with Truffaut, Justin identifies Satan and the serpent, asserting that he tempted humankind for an unspecified sinful reason, and was cursed as a result. However, after Justin, the idea was promulgated by his student Theophilus, Bishop of Antioch, and somewhat later by Tertullian. The Book of Revelation twice refers to the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, 12:9, 22. The Book of Revelation also refers to the deceiver, from which is derived the common epithet the great deceiver. Other terms identified with Satan include the prince of this world in the Book of John 12:31, 14:30. The prince of the power of the air also called Merririm, and the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience in the Book of Ephesians 2:2. And the god of this world in 2 Corinthians 4:4. From the 4th century Lucifer is sometimes used in Christian theology to refer to Satan, as a result of identifying the fallen son of the dawn of Isaiah 14:12 with the accuser of other passages in the Old Testament. In traditional Christian understanding of the Holy Hebrew Scriptures, the Torah, Satan is a synonym for the devil. For most Christians, he is believed to be an angel who rebelled against God, and also the one who spoke through the serpent and seduced Eve into disobeying God's command. His ultimate goal is to lead people away from the love of God, to lead them to fallacies which God opposes. Satan is also identified as the accuser of Job, the tempter in the Gospels, the secret power of lawlessness in 2 Thessalonians 2:7, and the dragon in the Book of Revelation. Before his insurrection, Satan was among the highest of all angels and the brightest in the sky. His pride is considered a reason why he would not bow to God as all other angels did, but sought to rule heaven himself. The popularly held beliefs that Satan was once an angel who becomes prideful and eventually rebels against God, however, are not portrayed explicitly in the Bible and are mostly based on inference, for example, Ezekiel 28 and Isaiah 14:12-17. In mainstream Christianity he is called the ruler of the demons, Matthew 12:24, the ruler of the world, and the god of this world, 2 Cor 4:4. The Book of Revelation describes how Satan will be cast out of heaven, down to the earth, having great anger, and waging war against those who obey God's commandments and hold to the testimony of Jesus. Ultimately, Satan is thrown into the lake of fire, not as ruler, but as one among many, being tormented day and night forever and ever. The early Christian church encountered opposition from pagans such as Celsus who claimed it is blasphemy to say that the greatest God has an adversary who constrains his capacity to do good, and says that Christians impiously divide the kingdom of God, creating a rebellion in it, as if there were opposing factions within the divine, including one that is hostile to God. In other Christian beliefs, for example the beliefs of the Christadelphians, the word Satan in the Bible is not regarded as referring to a supernatural, personal being but to any adversary, and figuratively refers to human sin and temptation.
Islam.
Shaitan, shaitan, is the equivalent of Satan in Islam. While shaitan, shaitan, from the root stn, is an adjective, meaning astray, or distant, sometimes translated as devil that can be applied to both man, alans, lns, and jinn, bull, Arabic pronunciation, is the personal name of the devil who is mentioned in the Quranic account of Genesis. According to the Quran, bull, the Arabic name used, disobeyed an order from Allah to bow to Adam and as a result was forced out of heaven and given respite until the day of judgment from further punishment. When Allah commanded all of the angels to bow down before Adam, the first human, bull, full of hubris and jealousy, refused to obey God's command. He could do so because he had free will, seeing Adam as being inferior in creation due to his being created from clay as compared to him, created of fire. It was after this that the title of Shaitan was given, which can be roughly translated as enemy, rebel, evil, or devil. Shaitan then claims that if the punishment for his act of disobedience is to be delayed until the day of judgment, that he will divert many of Adam's own descendants from the straight path during his period of respite. God accepts the claims of Baal and guarantees recompense to Baal and his followers in the form of hellfire. In order to test mankind and jinn alike, Allah allowed Baal to roam the earth to attempt to convert others away from his path. He was sent to earth along with Adam and Eve, after eventually luring them into eating the fruit from the forbidden tree.
Yazidism.
An alternate name for the main deity in the tentatively Indo-European pantheon of the Yazidi, milk cows, is Shaitan. Rather than satanic, however, Yazidism is better understood as a remnant of a pre-Islamic Middle Eastern Indo-European religion, and or a Ulat Sufi movement founded by Sheikh Hadi. The connection with Satan, originally made by Muslim outsiders, attracted the interest of 19th-century European travelers and esoteric writers.
Baha'i Faith.
In the Baha'i faith, Satan is not regarded as an independent evil power as he is in some faiths, but signifies the lower nature of humans. Abdul-Baha explains, this lower nature in man is symbolized as Satan, the evil ego within us, not an evil personality outside. All other evil spirits described in various faith traditions such as fallen angels, demons and jinns are also metaphors for the base character traits a human being may acquire and manifest when he turns away from God.
Satanism.
Satanic groups have various opinions about Satan, ranging from the conviction that he exists and ought to be worshipped, theistic Satanism, to Anton Son de Larve's symbolic interpretation, which emphasizes individual will and pleasure-seeking. In theistic Satanism, Satan is considered a positive force and deity who is either worshipped or revered. In Larvean Satanism, Satan is regarded as holding virtuous characteristics. Much modern satanic lore does not originate from theistic or Larvean Satanism, but from traditional Christian folk beliefs coupled with contemporary urban legends. An example is the satanic ritual abuse scare of the 1980s, beginning with the memoir Michelle Remembers, which depicted Satanism as a vast conspiracy of elites with a predilection for child abuse and human sacrifice. This genre frequently describes Satan as physically incarnating in order to receive worship.